This is the Bartholomew Town Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the Bartholomew Town Podcast. It's Bill Bartholomew here with you, as today I welcome one of Rhode Island's all-time most successful musical artists, the one and only Billy Gilman. So as I'm sure many of you are probably well aware, Billy had a super successful launch to his career all the way back in 2000 when, as an 11-year-old, his song One Voice off of the record One Voice became a top 40 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. It became a top 20 hit on the Billboard Hot Country Songs. And he just exploded into the mainstream as this fascinating and celebrated, really child star, if you will, but just an artist in general. And over the course of his career, which he has sustained now for over 20 years, it's just been a really fascinating ride, and you get the sense that there's a lot more ahead for Billy. So we talk about that today. We talk about his experience back in the early 2000s all the way through 2021 and where he's heading, the music industry as a whole, and his life bouncing back and forth between Rhode Island and Nashville. So look, I think this is one of my favorite episodes. We've done, 350 something of these, and I just love this conversation. I hope you do as well. Remember to give me a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Bill Bartholomew. And of course, join the Bartholomew Town Podcast Facebook group for daily digital content. And wherever you're listening right now, if you'd be so kind as to follow, rate, and review. And if you want to support the show for $3 per month, just head to patreon.com/BartholomewTown. All right, let's get to it. Rhode Island's own Billy Gilman here on the Bartholomew Town Podcast. I've wanted to do this for a long time, really since, honestly, probably for years since I started the podcast. So I was like, this will be a fascinating episode with somebody who, from a career standpoint, it's interesting because I've been following your career now for like 20 years, which in and of itself is kind of disturbing as I sit here.
Very disturbing.
But
the older I get, the creepier or the weirder it gets. Not creepy, but weird.
Yeah, it's just like... Well, you know what it is? It's like I still feel, and I'm sure, you're younger than me, so I'm sure you feel this way, but I still feel, I don't know, I still feel really youthful and energized. And like, there are tons of projects ahead of me, specifically with music. I feel like there are that I'm just now starting to figure out, like, what is it that I want to do? And where is it that I really want to go? And what mark do I really want to leave? And a lot of people in the entertainment industry as a whole have this idea of like, oh yeah, well, if you're like 22 and you haven't figured it out, then see you later. You're not eligible to participate or something like that. But that's totally wrong, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's wrong. Because especially in country music, you're not in all seriousness, there are spikes like Taylor and myself that somehow managed to sneak by. But the status quo, unfortunately, or fortunately, no matter how you look at it, 33 to 40 is where Nashville takes it seriously. If you look at the artists, I mean, some of them are in their mid to 20s, but a lot of them are in their 30s when they catch their stride. So, I don't think it's over until you say it's over. I truly believe that because I see so many people come out in their 40s and strike it and do well, or their 30s or their teens. Or I think it aligns when you align with your sincerity and your direction and I don't think there is a timetable, especially with social media and anyone anywhere can post anything. I don't think there's a time limit on you anymore. I really don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard an interview with Jewel recently, the 90s, mostly known as a 90s singer-songwriter. And she was kind of recalling this conversation she had with Bob Dylan, or maybe it was Neil Young, one of the two, when they were on tour together when she was opening for them, and how the songwriter career or the singer-songwriter performer career, it's a 60-year adventure.
Oh, yeah.
This idea
Absolutely.
Of like, boom, you're in and out is just part of like this weird corrupted industry that is, and it may not even be accurate as you just described in terms of what the industry is today.
In and out. I get what they mean by in and out. I think it's that mainstream. You're on everyone's last nerve every second of the day, kind of in and out. I think maybe, but if that's what you want, then you're in it for the wrong reason, I believe. And you will be very disappointed.
Yeah.
very disappointed. But I mean, at 18 months old, I mean, there's a video of me singing before I could speak. So it's not the joy of the platinum record or the award. It's the joy of getting out there and releasing this inner, I got to get this out of me kind of deal. And that's how I'm not eloquent enough to be a lawyer or smart enough or a poet or in essence. I'm a singer, and that's what I was put on this earth to do. And you always find ways, if it's what you are. I have people come into my autograph lines and say, I think, my mom says I sing good. I think I want to do that. And I tell them, I go, then don't do it. I hate to let you down, but don't think about it. It should just be. There's no alternative. So I think if it's truly what you are and that's all you like, there's no way it cannot not happen in some form.
Yeah, that's such a wise and experienced way of looking at it. And I think a lot of people need to hear that, because it's not just in music, but even coming out of the pandemic. I mean, there's a lot of complaints right now. Oh, well, we can't fill jobs that are, and in some cases I feel for some of the business owners that are struggling, because a lot of them are good people and even offer competitive wages. But I think the workforce has shifted because more and more people are going, maybe not that they're going to be a singer or a performer, but they're just like, I want to have more control of who I am and my life. And there's got to be a way to do it. And I feel something that's telling me to take a risk and pursue something that maybe is outside of the box. Sure.
I mean, without, you got to take a risk. And many people maybe are seeing that my life doesn't have to revolve around my job because it went away or it shifted so dramatically. I mean, that's why the real estate industry, some of my friends are realtors, took a skyrocketing turn, because people are realizing I don't have to commute 2 hours a day and be in this office building. And that gives me time in the afternoon to maybe start writing a book or start a podcast or start and then they really find love for it. And that's what they end up. There's all these avenues now because of the pandemic. And I mean, if anything, I think it's great. I mean, it's sad in other ways, but it's great in many different avenues of people finally finding their true north, in many senses. It's difficult for me because people, unfortunately, I have pop fans, and this is the way it works. And I don't want to upset anyone that's listening, but it's just the black and white of what I've seen since July. July was the first green lit concert that I could do in front of people again. Yeah. So I've probably done like 20 to 30 concerts since July. And there's pop fans, and honestly, the pop fans listen to the mandates and the country fans kind of buck them. Yeah. And so there's this pull and push and pull of venues. Oh, we want to instill this. And people will buy into it, and then people won't. That's fine. You do you. I'm happy that you're alive and you're well and you want to live by your own thing. That's not the issue. The issue is you're damned if you do and damned if you don't right this minute. So I'm just, that's the rough part about it. Have I been able to still do me and do shows? Absolutely. And a lot of them are outdoors, which is great. As it gets colder, that will change, and we will find out, what happens in the January, February, March months coming out of lockdown last January, February, March. Yeah. So, it's an interesting time, but if again, I go back to what I said 5 minutes ago, if it's what you are, people will gravitate towards it and miss it. Because I just think people, the one thing that people needed most, we weren't allowed to do last year at all. And that was be together and sing for everyone and forget this crap. So I don't think it will truly ever go south again. I really don't. Too many people love music and too many people love to be out. But it is different. It is different still, and we're navigating through it. But the wonders of virtual too, you have that. But it's not the same, not to hear applause and gasps if you sing someone's favorite song. Like, we didn't know, that interaction is very, very missed on this platform for me.
Oh, no question about it. There's no way that the live stream deal is going to replace concerts. Some people had that idea, and it was just funny. It was like in March and April of 2020, you'd be on Facebook and there'd be like, from every level of performer, you would see these live streams, and then they start to get
concert.
Totally. And they start to get more and more technically interesting with lighting or with sound equipment or staging, or people starting to realize, like, how can I best play into this format? And I feel like it just everyone was just like, okay, no matter how much energy we put into this, no matter how beautiful the set is or whatever, it's just No, we need to get back to live and in person, because the best version of a live stream is nowhere near as good as the best, even the most mediocre of live events.
True. Absolutely. It's the grabbing the beer at the stand and being with whomever you're bringing to the show, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your friends, your mom, your dad. There's more. The nucleus is the performance, but
yeah,
the extremities of a performance is just as fun. You know, it's cheaper to sit home in your living room and drink a glass of wine and dance to a virtual show. I'll give you that, but it's not as much fun. You know, it's definitely not.
Well, let's go back, because your story is so fascinating, and I've, of course, like I said, I've had an interesting view into it, having grown up in the same general part of the world, and Charahoe, for lack of a better term. I grew up in Charlestown, but I remember when the signs went up, like, welcome to Hope Valley, home of Billy Gilman. And, it was, you entered into this really, really interesting and magical moment. And it has sustained, I would say, 20 years later, with one voice, the song, the record, and just everything that came out of that. Where did this begin for you, and how did you end up in a position where it was possible for you to deliver such an absolutely smash hit song and launch a career, literally in your, I don't know exactly how old you were, but you were young.
Teething.
Yeah.
Again, it's just crazy. It just was, there was no other way. I don't know how to explain it, because it just always was there. And looking back, I don't think what I laugh at the most, because I hardly marvel at myself, but creepy, cringy. But the one thing that I laugh at is how insistent I was. Now that some people in their 50s, having lived a whole life, well, that's not a whole life, but having lived the majority of a life, don't have that. And I had this at 5 years old, this persistence and this sense of urgency that if you're not going to do this, I'm going to find a way. My parents were just normal people. My father worked for my grandparents. There was a drive and passion for life and for family and everything, but there was no one in my, life that was going to be a lawyer, or that was going to be a business. There was no drive like that for me to go, oh, I like that. There was nothing. So I don't know where that came from. I have no idea. And I've read about it in psychology books, and I'm trying to figure out that mindset, especially at that age when you don't even know what type of sock is a anklet or a knee high. I mean, sure. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know life. Yeah. And, but my grandmother saw it, and she got it. She owned an oil company. She was very business forward. And she recognized that I was doing things that the other grandkids weren't doing. It was just strange. Well, my parents were like, no, let him go to school and figure it out. And my grandmother was like, okay, so that's not going to work. So your parents aren't on our side. So we're going to say we're going to lunch. And every Tuesday, she found a vocal coach out of Westerly, Rhode Island, about 10, 15 minutes from our property. And she's found this voice coach, and this voice coach said, yep, I'll meet with your grandson at such and such. So we met, and every Tuesday for about 6 weeks, we met with this vocal coach. And then, the lid blew off that cover, or the cover blew off that story and that scheme. And my parents were like, okay, he's too annoying of a child. You're not going to lunch every Tuesday here. You'd be, I was very, very, very just adamant, and just no time for play. I just wanted to, it was very weird. I was very adult. So it got like, okay, kid, go away. So they're like, you're not going to lunch every Tuesday, Ma. What are you doing? There's something going on. And I said, well, we're actually going to see a voice coach. So that blew up. And then there was no backing down now, because the path was already kind of set. And the voice coach after so many weeks, wanted to meet my parents. Like, what's the deal? So she got rid of all her other voice students and just completely took me on one-on-one and taught me the ropes. She was a performer in the 70s and 80s in Las Vegas. So she knew when she was sick, when she was really flying high, when she wasn't feeling great, the ins and outs of voice coaching, just not textbook, breathe properly, sing through, no, she taught me the life lessons of you got to do this if this happens and you have to shift your mind, all these different things. And it's invaluable. It really is. And then she said, you're getting pretty there to the point where I think we should start looking at agents to book you around locally to open up for artists and get out there. So this is at 7. So I'm like, all right, that's great. That sounds something like I want to do. So we met up with an agent. That all started rolling. And then it really started to become a job, a tax-paying job. I was flunking school, that whole narrative was starting to really, wear me down. Like, okay, now it's becoming a thing where it's interfering with what I'm supposed to be doing, but also I'm also supposed to be working and finding a job, because you go to school to find a job, but here I'm kind of getting one. So it was this whole mentality of, okay, this is really strange. I'm going ahead of the clock a little bit. So I was pulled out of school and was homeschooled right around the time that Sony Music started to really get interest. I was doing a private party after working for 5 years of just opening for people. And I'd go to school in the week, and then I'd sing on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then get back on the grind of school and doing all that. And a very well-known local band called Roomful of Blues.
Sure. Duke Robillard.
Yep. The lead at that time was, the sax lead was Greg Piccolo.
Sure. Yeah.
And he said, I got a lot of friends in Texas that probably could get you into some doors in Nashville. Would you want to send me a demo tape? So we put together some songs just from karaoke tapes. And 2 weeks later, after sending that demo, Asleep at the Wheel, a very well-known country Western swing type band, said, "This is crazy. We thought this was a 40-year-old woman. Would you? This is weird. Would you be interested in coming down? We'll set our band up. You don't have to pay for anything. Just come sing 2 songs, make a little demo. We'll pay your way. You just take care of the room."
Wow.
Okay, fine. So we went down. And I sang Thurston, I can't remember, Thurston Howell's from the movie, but Thurston something Jr., Little Bitty Pretty One, and Tammy Wynette's Till I Can Make It on My Own, a perfect song for a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
But it worked. People bought it. I still don't know how. So we recorded the demo. Well, funny story. This is great. Me out talking about how headstrong I was. I get in the studio. Now, this is the first time I had ever been in a studio with headphones, like legit monitor mixing, and whoa, I guess I kind of freaked. I got a little choked up, and I was awful, apparently. So from what I was told. And I guess in the booth where they mix, and the producers are there looking at you through the glass, and I guess it was really bad. But as a kid, they're smiling and being gentle. And I guess Ray, the lead singer of the band Asleep at the Wheel, turned to Angela. So there's a lot of variables to all this. But so as this was starting and the traveling was getting kind of crazy, wasn't signed to a record label yet, but I knew that this was starting to get wacky. I looked at my mom and I said, okay, we've known Angela now for 4.5 years. I said, we all know that she's kind of my second mom, which you can rest assured. You can rest knowing that someone's looking out for me like you would look out for me. However, I do not want you traveling all around with me and having Colin, my younger brother by 3 years, going, why? I didn't ask for this. What's going on here? You stay home. Angie's my road mom. You guys come out when you can, when Colin's out of school. If by chance I'm on the road, but you stay home and be a mom. This is my choice. I can put up with that being away from it because this is what I want. So that's how this all really started to be really put into high gear, because Angela was a 50-year-old woman, her kids are already grown. She's a voice coach, and this is what she wants to do as well. And she knows the ropes because she traveled for 30 years. So it was like a perfect thing. So all that, fast forward back to the recording studio, and we were only supposed to stay a day, and I click on the little talk back button, and they go, "Okay, Billy, great job. We're actually going to take a day." And I went, "That's off the schedule." And Angela sat me down in the hotel room that night. She says, Billy, I don't know what you were doing, but you were so off pitch. What's going on? That's not like you. And I'm like, well, the knobs aren't right. Apparently I couldn't hear myself.
Yeah.
So the next morning, Ray Benson comes in and he goes, let's have breakfast first. And he says, sometimes it's not, something that's, as good as you think it might be, but that doesn't mean you give up. It's really starting to let it down. Now I'm thinking, oh, shut up. Just get me back into the room. Yeah. It was my mistake. I just didn't know how to speak up and say I couldn't really hear myself. So she says, now tell Ray what you told me. And I said, well, it was too echoey and I couldn't hear enough of me. I didn't know that was reverb and this and that. I didn't know at that time. So he said, all right, well, we'll try again. So we tried again and it was ballpark. And he turned around and goes, what the hell did you say to him last night?
Yeah.
And so that's what started it. About 2 weeks after that, I was flown to Nashville to sing at the Wild Horse Saloon. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that was a showcase. He had set up all these record labels to sit in the audience, and Sony Records. That was in, all August, September. And by November, I was signed to Sony and flew down November of 99 to start meeting with the people and listening to songs. And February, March area of 2000 was when I went and started to record the One Voice record. So yeah, it's crazy.
What a journey.
It didn't just happen. You know what I mean? That's the craziest thing. Even as a kid, there was a grind. It wasn't just, I was in an audition and it was destiny. No,
totally. And the pathway you took as well to encounter the Wheel and Ray Benson, and that they're, to me, like one of the most authentic bands in American bands. You know what I mean? They're the brand of music they create. They call it Western swing, but it really
it's been around so long. Bob Wills and since the probably that's one of the first musics, the genres that was around. I mean, that sitting by a campfire in the old, traveling days, was that kind of music with the fiddle and the tambourines and that's what people. So that kind of music was one of the first musics that was known. Yeah, one of the first musics is totally a made up word, but
and it's absolutely authentic, and so that speaks volumes to where you were coming from, because a lot of people probably think, okay, Nashville, that leans into more of like a like you said, like some audition, like you went to the Warwick Mall and some talent scout was auditioning people. Right. It's like no, you came through authentic Americana, rubber stamped by people that are the real deal. Talk about that 60-year career. That's exactly what Asleep at the Wheel represents, is the long game. And
absolutely. So
to be rubber stamped there and then send you into this process in Nashville is just so fascinating. So what was the One Voice record like in terms of making it? Who were the writers and how long did that record take? And just take us through that experience of creating what is a smash hit record.
Well, you don't know that, and the ones you think are the ones that don't go anywhere.
Sure.
So it was just, it's funny how I can remember so much in specific detail. Like the night we were recording the second single off that record, Oklahoma, and the lights dim and a tornado touched and we didn't know anything about it. Touched down like literally 5 blocks away. It was a smaller thing, but it's so vivid. I can see us going down into the studio cellar and all this stuff. It was wacky. And then there were things like my Christmas record. There's no memory. There is not one memory of that, making that record. I can't go back to it other than the photo shoot we did. And the snow in the front was like Stop and Shop white plastic bags. And it was about 100 degrees with the lamps and it would stick to my skin.
Oh God. Yeah.
It was so weird. But yeah, it was just insane. I remember the one thing that I remember was I begged them to listen to me on choices of like the treatments of the steel guitar or what I heard, and they weren't going to listen to me. I was 12 years old, which I get, but I was so set in stone of how I wanted this to sound and what I wanted to say. And that's the best part about that record. Looking back on it 20 years now, it's crazy, really weird, is they listened to me in the search for songs that weren't era appropriate or generational. They gave me timeless material that is not creepy to sing at 50 years old, 60 years old. They all make sense. Their stories. One voice makes more sense in today's world than it did in that world.
I agree. Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? So it was just really a very adult, and it was really like I was like I could tell when even as a kid, they were looking at me like, oh wow, this kid, like for a 12-year-old, he sounds 20. Like he knows the stuff, even though he's never done it. So I think they came at me differently just in that respect. They didn't shut me in a corner. Okay, little boy, sing the lead. Let's go. Okay, go back to the hotel room. It wasn't that case. And I think that's why the record was so well recorded, because I was treated equally. And yeah, I never forget Oklahoma, which is about a boy who never knew he had a real father. He went from foster care to social services. Come to find out, he meets his real dad, and his dad lives in Oklahoma. That was supposed to be the first single. And then during the it was April of 99, I think Columbine happened. Well, whatever happened within a songwriting session between Don Cook and David Malloy, who also co-produced the entire record. I was supposed to leave to come back to Rhode Island. The recording was done. We usually did like 4 songs a day.
Mm-hmm. So
it was like a week, and then I'd leave, and then they'd finish it out. Like I'd be with the rhythm section. And for all of you who don't know what that is, I would be there with bass guitar, drums, piano, the essentials of a band. And then I'd go home, and then they would track all the strings, the horns, the steel guitars, the extra fiddles, the extra pads. They would do all that extra. I didn't need to be there for that. And then they would send mixes every couple of days. What do you like that with that turned up? You like that with that turned down? And that was the days of no MP3s. They would send us tracks like CDs, so they'd overnight them, which is kind of crazy to think of nowadays. And they came flying in the recording room the night before I was to leave, and they said, "We just wrote this song, and we think this one's going to be your first single." Now, mind you, Oklahoma's beautiful. The story's beautiful. Like I could see in my head the video. They played it for me, and I looked to Ange, of course, who's with me, Angela, and I looked at her and I just gave her a look, and she knew exactly my look. Like, this sucks. And I said, okay. And they said, take it tonight. Just listen to it. We're going to extend your stay 2 nights. We're going to give you tomorrow. Listen to it, and we'll track it during the night tomorrow night. Listen to it all day. I said, all right. So I went in the car and I just lost it. I'm like, this song is boring. It's horrible. It's like, da, 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 da. I'm like, people are going to think it's dumb. I don't know what, they're killing my career before it even begins. And she said, listen, they're smarter than you. So they have an idea and we have to trust them. So she's working with the song, and the bridge it was very, very mediocre. The bridge, it was like quiet. So she's like, let me live with it with you, and I'll come up with an idea for the song. So I know, because I loved moments in songs, like a moment of a tender. There had to be some moment in a song for me to grab it, not just the lyrics. So she gets up the next morning. She goes, I listened to it all night. You went to bed. And she said, let's just change the melody of the bridge. And she sang her idea, and I loved it. And that's what was kept into the song. They obliged. They said, yep, we like it too. That can stay. So I recorded the song. We did the video, did the photo shoots, did all that. And I'm thankful I was dead wrong. That's all I can say. I was dead wrong on thinking people wouldn't like it. So
a massive,
there you go.
A massive, massive hit that propelled you into immediate stardom and into the arena level, and just changed the course of your life. No question about it. I recall you had a relationship or you had a fan, I suppose, in Rosie O'Donnell. You know, that seeing you on there and just on that show, and just like, you were mainstream, you were a country artist. It was there. The authenticity was there. You came through those channels, but suddenly you were brought to this wide audience and you were well received. And it wasn't just on the grounds of, oh, here's a young boy, a young lad doing something nice. It was like, no, there's a talent here that is extremely unique and extremely powerful. What was it like to sort of become just this mainstream icon of the moment at that point in time?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
Just did it.
Just did. Yeah. Just get. Yeah. I mean, I honestly can't answer that question. I don't know. Because it was never in my forefront. It was never put to me that way between my parents, between my team. For all I know, it flopped because everything just felt the same. I mean, I knew the wheels will get faster, like the motion was faster, but I don't know. I just love to sing, so it didn't matter if it was in front of Rosie or the president or our principal at Chariho School. I don't know. I can't. I don't know.
There's a funny.
It didn't feel any different.
Yeah, you keep trucking along, and that's it exactly. There's a funny anecdote that I was involved in. There was some event at Ninigret Park in Charlestown. This is probably like 2002 or something like that. And you were doing an autograph session, and my band was booked to play this event. I don't even know what it was, but it was some kind of scenario where, you were there early. It was like an in and out mission, like, all right, an hour or two, whatever. And we were playing at like 6:00. And my bandmates and I walked around, and, we were going up to people and being like, hey, Billy's singing at 6:00. You know what I mean? Billy's playing 6:00. Of course, they're talking about me.
Me, you.
So we had this, exactly. So we have this crowd of extraordinarily disappointed people. One note into it, they're like, yeah, it's Bartholomew. Yeah, we're out of here. But it was just
and
like,
that happens to me now, so don't worry about it.
So
funny. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's so absurd. But so as time moves along, you build this career, you build the foundation for it, and you're growing as an artist, but you're dipping in and out of the public's view. But suddenly you have this re-emergence on a grand scale through the TV show The Voice. Where did that come from, and what was that choice to go into that space, and what was that like to compete in that environment?
Well, I didn't want to do it, and I was forced to do it by Angela. She's still in my career, along with other people over time. But I hated the thought of it. I did not want to do it. I said I started as, if I can pitifully do this as a kid and not get a record deal, and get a record deal, I'm not relying on some reality show at my age, when I didn't have to do it back when. I was so dead against it. And but at that time, I make my time between Nashville and Rhode Island. I like I said, as you've gotten from the past half hour, I was away a lot as a kid. So there's always a little ting in my heart and in my soul that if I can stay home as much and still make my career work, I want to be around my family. Rightly so. I think I've earned a little bit of that before they're all dead, which is horribly dreadful, horribly doom and gloom, but it's true. Birthdays and Christmases and holidays, and I would be on a plane. How fun is that? And that I remember feeling, but whatever, I was still doing what I wanted to do. So I was in Nashville. My voice changed. That was a whole shit show. I didn't think it would ever come back. I thought, I'm going to keep hitting those high F notes, thinking, if I keep singing them, they're not going to go away. That's wrong. Mother Nature comes in. You're not going to be that little kid voice anymore. And I almost damaged it twice, very bad. And had to go 6 months without speaking. Pads for 6 months.
Good Lord.
I almost did it in thinking I could just keep driving it. It's stretching. It's growing. Let it be. So I had to stop singing. Sony didn't get it. We parted ways. They were like, I don't think this is going to work out. I'm like, I don't think it's going to work out either. To be honest, there's no chart saying, okay, if you do this, this is where you're going to go. It could easily not come back. So I got it. So I said, I can't stop. There's no way I'm stopping. If I stop, I better go back to school and become a book clerk or something, because my name will always be around, but it's impossible. So I got involved very heavily, knowing I cannot sing. Speaking was a little rough too, and especially when I couldn't speak for months. But when I could speak, before my voice changed, I really got heavily involved with the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Even when I was even younger than that, this was around 17, 18, even younger than that, I was very, very involved with Marlo Thomas at St. Jude. We gave her a song. There's a hero that was a part of her campaign. I love to give back, and my voice was at a platform, and it is at a platform where I'm a little bit louder than the most. And to give back, I think, is just the most important thing anyone can do in this world. Yep. And so, in the ins and outs of figuring out what the hell was going to go on with my career and my voice, I was out on the road working and on behalf of muscular dystrophy, speaking in front of 10,000 kids, 15,000 adults, 20,000 in an arena of DECA students, career and development kids that were giving their time to MDA with different, things. So I was gone a lot for a good many years out and still in the public eye, not doing what I want to do, but raising $2.5 million within 7 years for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Wow. So I wasn't doing what I love, but I was doing what I loved, which is giving, just in a different way. So then I moved to Nashville. Could feel it was coming back in my early, it was my early 20s. It took that long for me to feel that my voice was coming back. And I swear my brother changed overnight, and that was it. But if he was a singer, who knows what it would have been. I use my voice to its 10th degree. I use every fold of my voice. It didn't come back very easily. It just didn't. And then I forget at what age, but I was older. Which didn't shock me because everyone was astounded as a kid. Okay, maybe it's just how my body works. But I didn't get my first set of teeth till I was like a year old. It was something wacky where it was very late. I was very late to the party. Well, it was no different for my voice. So I guess it's just my body. And anyway, I digress on that. But I felt it come back. I'm going to round it out to about, say, 21, and where I really felt I could go back, relearn my voice. It's there. I know it's there. It was like a light switch. So I went to Nashville, moved in, lived, because I wanted to learn. Even though I was so many years, I'd done 5 records at that point, something like that. I never really got to learn the Pro Tools or what this knob does to the bass or what that engineer does for him or sit in a songwriting round and write a song. I was just a face. And so I went to Nashville and just schlepped. I took appointments just as Billy. I didn't care if they knew who I was and what I had done a few years back. I didn't care. I just wanted to be part of the family and the community. And that was great. And learned and had a publishing deal and wrote songs. And a lot of my songs that I sing in my show now are practically all written by me. Never thought I would do that, which is so cool. Plus I do the other stuff. And right around 24, the Voice started calling the office people. And they were like, Billy, the Voice, the show, NBC's The Voice called. No. So they wouldn't even entertain the idea. They could tell I was turned off. A few years went by and they were so persistent, kind of like I was back when, on me wanting to be on this show. And they called 5 times. They called for 2 years straight. And there's 2 seasons. So they called almost 5 seasons. And I said, I'm old enough to know that I've missed out on some great opportunities because I said no. And there are regrets. Everyone has them. I said, however, I've never seen an opportunity keep coming back. Like they just won't stop. Sure. So I said, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. So I entertained everyone's idea. And then I had meetings with my ex-label president, with a manager that I had worked with a few years, with a lawyer that I had worked with. And individually, they each said literally the same thing. And not knowing, they all said it. They said, what have you got to lose? Literally, that's what they said. Everyone. I'm like, well, this is really freaky here. I guess I'm wrong. So having, like you said, been thrust into the world now, not just my little lane of what I like and what I know, I knew my voice could do things differently. Meaning I know that my bread and butter is country music, that message, that story, people loving that thing. But I knew that I could wail out a Celine Dion song. I just know I could. And I knew that I could pull it off. So I said, you know what? I will always be a country artist. Probably will go back to that as I get older because that is my home and my nucleus. But I have no label. I have no ties that bind me right now. I'm going to do songs that will wow America and think, wow, if you don't know me, then you'll be wowed on your own. But if you knew me, you'd be like, wow, I didn't know he could do that. So there was this whole new world, and that's what excited me. And that's where I finally said, you know what? I see my way now for this. I'm just going to sing songs to organically inspire America. If they're a pop song, if it's a country song, if it's a slow song, if it's whatever song hits me, I can do that right now. I don't have to fill a record of songs that people want me to fill of all one sound. And it was some of the best fun I've had in my entire career. And I said, listen, if I am from the heart, America will buy into it. And they did.
Yeah.
Didn't think they would. I honestly thought it was a joke. I honestly thought I'm going to get up on that stage and no one's going to turn their chair, but they used my name, and Billy Gilman's coming back to music for that 1 minute factor for views. And then no one's going to turn around and I'm gone. That was my thought. And in fact, I had they come out with a long shot. And I told Javi, the camera guy who worked with me at 12 years old on the CMA Awards, Country Music Awards, I went, "Hi, Javi, I'm Billy Gilman." He goes, "Yeah, right." And he looked down at the script and he said he couldn't believe it, right? Because I hadn't seen him in a few years. So naturally you grow up and do all that. I said, "Javi, you got to keep me here because I know my legs will be shaking." And they were. I just thought I was set up for, here we go. Luckily, I wasn't. But yeah, I was super grateful that we went all the way to the end because I didn't think that would happen. I really didn't.
Yeah, it was a really interesting pathway for you. You know what I mean? Like same thing. Like when it first started, I was like, wow, okay. I don't know if I like this. But then, you know what I mean? But then as it went on, I was like, okay, now I see what's happening. You're exactly as you described it. You're getting in front of the country in a new capacity. And that's really cool that's happening.
Well, I thought, I had to really bite my ego a little bit. Not that there was one. I don't have an ego, but it is a different way of doing things that I never needed to do, I guess, in a way. And not only, I don't say this too often, but we're in the thick of it. Not only did I have to fight for voting and fight for America to believe, but I also had to fight in the background because people wanted me off the show. Contestants wanted me off. He had a career at 12. Lo and behold, the damn winner, 8 months before he won The Voice. I didn't win. I didn't want to win. Who doesn't want to go win something and not win? I get that. I did not want to win because Bill knows in music, contracts can be really shitty.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I knew Republic Records was not my home.
Yeah. The next 5 years of your life would be a lot different. Yeah,
probably on a shelf.
Yep.
So he had a record deal 8 months before the show. So everyone on The Voice comes in at a different angle. Some really are just bartenders.
Yeah.
Yes. But the majority come from, they sang with Michael Jackson, they were their background singer. Or someone came from having 10 record deals and they never came through. But it's not just Joe Schmo coming off the road and they're all of a sudden this miraculous voice. So I'm like, you're giving me such grief. I didn't know I knew who I was, but it's a child. It's not like I had a number one record 16 months ago, flopped, then came on. This was 10 years or however many years at that time ago. Give me a break. So it was really rough to keep my spirit up, knowing I got to battle the front and battle the back. And I was grateful it worked the way it did because of the work that I had to put forth. It was insane. But, like you said, two things about that. It was a great hello again. And it was a great hello to people that had no idea who I was. And there were millions that didn't know who I was because it was a whole other generation. But there were a lot of people that went, we wondered where you went. We've always wondered where you've been, blah, 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 blah. So, in the end, there was no hurt factor. It didn't scar anything. It didn't bruise my career. It didn't do anything to affect it in a negative way. So that was the positive out of that.
Really fascinating stuff. Last couple of minutes here. I certainly want to get to your upcoming shows and, you're kind of this life bouncing between Rhode Island and Nashville, but I'm really fascinated by the Taylor Swift reissues and re-recordings of her records. And I listened to Red a couple of times over the weekend. First of all, there's some amazing writing on there. Songs like All Too Well. That's a beautifully written song. Like, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but I love this idea of chasing authenticity. And it's I think what I'm hearing from this is a widening audience for almost like an indie authentic type of sound that is And perhaps you have a thought on, are we moving away from, as we head into the next, where we're in it, but as we keep moving through the next decade, the kind of cookie cutter, Nickelback / Nashville type of writing? Are people who have a unique voice and a unique vibe, kind of like what you brought when you first came onto the scene, is that something that is going to explode in the coming years? Are people ready for something more authentic and organic? Yeah,
I think so. I there's a lot. I did I don't, which is probably really bad, but I stick to a certain amount of music that I listen to, and I cycle it. I don't, unless I'm doing a project and I want to hear a sound, and I'll do some investigation. But I stick to about this much music. When there's this much in the world, I'm just bad like that. I'm a creature of habit, bad. So I was guest DJing some radio station, well known, and I couldn't believe that 80% of the music I was listening to that I don't know, I was loving. I loved where music was going. It wasn't what I thought. Of course, there's always going to be that shtick, that pop, country, whatever. There will always be that, but there's so many great songs out there right now that's kind of directed the sale to that telling a story kind of again. Like I'm hearing heartbreak, but not in the form of repetitive chorus. Like I'm hearing, I drove up to your house and some other person, whatever it may be. I'm hearing a line, a beginning, a middle, and an end again. And I went, okay, maybe we're in that path. And now Adele just came out, and I did not expect to hear the sounds come onto that record that I'm hearing. I've listened to it a little bit, but it was totally not what I thought. And I guess that's the beauty of her genius. It just throw a curveball. I mean, Easy on Me has that. I can see why that was chosen. It's the single, but there are some really interesting, very almost grassroots 60-ish kind of methods to the writing and the recording and the sound. So yeah, I think we are in a changed state. Maybe not changed, maybe widening. Maybe it's coming back, but the other stuff isn't leaving. So there's now a bigger room for it. I don't know yet, but I do sense a change for the better. And I think that's what excites me the most, because I didn't feel like I belonged. I couldn't see where to go. I can kind of start to feel my foundation starting again in a way where, like, I didn't think to myself up until the last couple of months during COVID and planning and plotting and what's going to happen coming out with normality beginning again. And there's always been, and I can just go back to the simple fact, what I believe, there's always been a great, that sounds very, very narcissistic, but I'm not saying it that way, but there's always really been a strong, I won't say great, because I don't consider myself great, but there's always been a very strong male singer that sings, for instance, I'm not going to say pretty because that's not right either, but there's always in the 20s and in the 30s, there was Hank Williams. He sang, right? Yep. There was Farron Young. There was Eddie Arnold in the 60s. Elvis sang beautifully. There was Kenny Rogers, who in the 80s and 70s would flip-flop to pop to country. Yep. So it's not a weird thing. I see that lane opening up for me as I'm getting older and more into what I'm writing and what I'm saying. And I think I'm just excited because I see that lane opening up for me. And that might be part of that broadening and having that come back to the pot. Because for a while, I didn't feel I just wasn't what was playing. So I just didn't feel that I needed to be heard in a way. But now I feel, they need me now. I think there's something there now. So it's exciting. It really is. I
really think so too, because for a while it was like, if you ended up on pop country radio, I mean, you were just guaranteed to hear, Four on the Floor, just like, and you're just like,
bro country.
And people were trying to chip away at it. I think Dierks Bentley did a little bit. I think even to an extent, Kenny Chesney did a little bit with the songs he was choosing, but it still was clouded in bro country. And you're like, where? And it was happening everywhere.
That was not me. I could have done it, but I don't think The one thing about it is I can't fake it where many people can, and God bless them. That's a business. That is a mind. That's a business mindset of a career. I can't do that. I even when I try, it comes off so disingenuous. It comes off so awful. It doesn't work. So I knew that I'd be batting zero. I knew it. Why bother yourself? Go do concerts. I can sing till my death. I know I can always do concerts. My fans will be there to what capacity, whatever, but I always go make a living singing live. So why stress yourself to do something that's not going to be organic, that's not going to be giving to the audience in a way where it's fulfilling? It's not going to work. And it didn't. It never did. I never took off in that lane ever. And your timings happen in different spots. And yeah, I feel that the tide's turning a little bit with music and more into my direction again. So yeah, it's like coming out of hiding, I guess, if you will, in a weird way.
No, it's a big moment. It's across the board. It's not just in country. I really feel it's coming in a lot of spaces, and we're hearing it in hip hop. There's a lot of enthusiasm for underground hip hop expanding. We're hearing it in indie, where some of these bands. I just heard this band Dry Cleaning from the UK, and I was listening to this record over the weekend. I was like, wow, this is so authentic, so exciting. The songs are beautiful. The stories are great. And it just kicks ass. Like there's no one's trying to like tap dance around. Like this is what this type of music is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you think and rock you.
I got to look them up.
It's really interesting. Last couple of minutes here. So the bouncing between Rhode Island and Nashville it's not unheard of. People, and Rhode Island is great for this. I think of the proximity to New York, where I lived for a decade, and now I've been back here for 5 years or so. But I'm back and forth all the time. A lot of people, like the barista at the coffee shop that I go to most of the time in Brooklyn, has no idea that I moved. Like there's never been.
Well, that's it. And so many people come to me and go, "Oh, you're home? I go, you live in that?" People are in their own. People are in their own. Even though you see a barista every day for it,
right?
Where have you been? Right. I get that. That's funny.
But do you see yourself in this capacity and the types of concerts you're playing and performing and working and so on and so forth? Is this working for you, this life here kind of in between two places?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always gone. Like not always gone. That's a lie. I'm just always wherever. I mean, I'm in New York a lot. And then I'm in Ohio and Virginia and Missouri. I mean, on the one-off shows, doing my concerts. Especially now, getting back to normal. We had so many projects and so much of a path before COVID, and it all just went to hell. And so now we're building all those paths back, and very fortunate. I mean, I could have not gotten any work, from July to now, and I've done so many concerts. It's been so great to see fans and the meet and greets. People. We do meet and greets safely, but people just want that again. And I'm not gonna, I'm gonna do the necessary precautions so we can do that and feel back to normal. It doesn't bother me at the moment. Showing face in Nashville, I love, and I have so many great friends and co-writers and producers. And I mean, Liz Rose is one of my great friends. She wrote every Taylor Swift song with Taylor that you've ever heard. So she doesn't have to do anything again.
Yeah, that's all you need to do right there. See you later.
Right? So, yeah, I don't mind it. And if that day comes that I'm just like, ugh, I'll see what matters most. If I cannot not be in Nashville, then I'm too young. I got to stay there if need be. But right now it's working and people are listening and intrigued and, it's so far so good. I hope I don't have to ever change it. I like bouncing back. I like the change. I hate change, but I like that change. Yeah. I hate the change of moving. Like I like the bouncing a little bit. I don't know. When you get sick of me here, I'll move over there for a minute.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got
I don't mind it.
You've got a show coming up here in Rhode Island in where I'm losing my mind in terms of the calendar. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, right?
I can't believe we're in the 20s of November.
It's nuts. Yeah.
I thought I was just in wherever the hell I was. July 26th. Where did July 26th and November 24th? When did that happen? It's been nuts.
It's nuts.
Crazy. But yeah, December 5th. I'm very excited. And this, country, doing the voice and doing anything I wanted to do. It was almost like, what's that movie? It just came into my head, just like the ending of that movie, The Horse, Secretariat.
Sure.
He had to do all these things, and then they just said, let him run. And that's kind of what I did. Just let me go. And so I was all over the joint with my song choices. This, again, is something that's not normal for me. So it's exciting. It's not just the status quo of what I do. It's a 10-piece orchestra, horns and timp and percussion and very Christmassy style. I wouldn't say buble because it's definitely not swingy like that, but it's big. It's very production forward and singing a lot of Christmas songs. So if it's not something that's like, we came here to be in the holiday mood and he did 15 originals. Yeah. No, I do a lot of Christmas songs. I do a lot of fun stuff. Like I'm doing the entire movie from the beginning to the end in like a 7-8 minute medley of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's such fun. It's such fun. It's so awesome. Campy, but it's just holiday. Yeah. You can get away with it. You can get away with it. And it's so fun. And we got some poignant songs, of course, but it's just going to be really fun. Doing a lot of video montages this year. It's probably my favorite Christmas show that I've done thus far because we did a little virtual one last year, but it was, it gave me a minute to think about, okay, what if we had the screen come down, we show this, and then we have a really fun Rhode Island forward surprise that Rhodey people and Massachusetts will get a kick out of. If you're from Ohio, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Because I know people are coming in from Germany, from Canada, from Florida. Wow. It's just insane, the people that are coming in to see the show. And it's 30 songs. So I've been just now I'm starting in rehearsals, getting my voice to that capacity. But it's just fun. It's just fun. And it's really going to be a special show. It's my favorite one thus far out of the 7 years that I've consistently done a Christmas show.
Is it at the Vets?
An annual thing. It's at the Vets. Yep. So thevetsri.com. Thevetsri.com. Come on down. I promise you're going to leave. And I was told, for all of you listening, I didn't realize this because you don't pay attention. I just do what I do. That this is the only Christmas concert, meaning there's a lead singer and a band and an act like that. The others are like a violinist is coming into town. Then it's like the Nutcracker. So we're the only like concert touring act, if you will, that's coming through this year. It's the only show like that. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, really exciting stuff, and a lot better, a lot more exciting than what the Vets was used for most of the last year or so, which was the governor's press conferences. I believe me, I was at almost all of those sitting there during COVID.
Oh, right,
it was
doing
like,
what you do, I'm sure.
On that side of what I do, and it's like a couple of us were always like, we just want to have music back here, like enough of this. Yeah. And I'm just, it's exciting that we're at that point. So, Billy Gilman, wow, what an artist, man. You're just so authentic. And I think a lot of people probably know that, but I think more people should get to know the fact that you are as authentic as you are, because, there's a disconnect sometimes between someone who has a superstar level success and the human being that is behind that. And
totally. Remember, I'm sure I will go so deep and real. It's sick. Like I remember when you were in the beginning of this interview, when you said, I would drive through town and there'd be signs, whatever, welcome to Billy Gilman. And I remember my father going because they think, at 13, they can pull the wool over my eyes and not make bullshit. I remember him getting up late at night and picking up one of the signs because people wrote such horrific, negative, nasty things on one of the signs. So, it's not all roses, believe me.
It's not. And what's interesting about it is the more the people that I know or I've met in music that have had, it's not universally true, but by and large, the more successful and the more out there you've gotten as an artist, I find the more authentic you are and the more of that artist with a capital A that you are. And this sort of like notion that, if you're successful in the arts and particularly in the music industry, that means that you're, just a dismissive, Mr. Cool type of character. That's artificial. There's a lot of bands here in Providence and in Brooklyn and, in Nashville for sure that for me anyway, you'd end up on a bill with them. They might've had like a review in Pitchfork or something, but they're just the meanest, cruelest people, but
Yeah.
their ceiling is that. And it really comes when you're just a beautiful human. That's what people want to see. They want that light in this world. They crave it. And that's what you've provided. And I mean that totally sincerely. And you've sustained it. And I think that in and of itself is just such an accomplishment.
Yeah. And I have to say that's the one thing that, that's the, I've done a lot of, like reading about, I did psychology in school, being tutored and all that, like just mental, adversities and what makes you alike and why am I this way? And I mean, it's someone's point of view. It's not your end all be all, but it's great to hear different things. And the one thing looking at it and being so real with myself is I'm so happy that I still find love in it. And I'm still excited for it because I so easily could be like, F this, I'm jaded. Well, the whole thing. And I'm just so happy that I've never gone down that road. And I allude that to people never getting in the way and making it. People allowed me to be, and that's all I can say. My parents never became my managers and get screwed up. And it was just a very pure way of doing a very non-pure job. and I'm grateful for that. And that's the whole reason. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful.
Awesome. Well, that was great.
Well, this was great, Bill.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It'll drop tomorrow. We'll air it, and yeah, I just keep going, man, because you're a force, and I appreciate your time a lot. Yep. I
appreciate you. Are you kidding? You're our hands and our eyes and our ears to get things out. So I appreciate you more than you know, man. I appreciate really sincerely.
Well, thanks. Thank you. All right, catch you around.
Take care, buddy.
See ya.
This is the Bartholomew Town Podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Elmwood Songwriters Club, presented by B-Town. It's a monthly showcase featuring 7 artists from all around the region. With the order drawn at random, each artist performs 2 songs. You can find details about when the next event is here in Providence by following me on Twitter and Instagram at Bill Bartholomew.
At HealthSource RI for Employers, we provide access to health insurance to more than 1,100 local businesses and nonprofits, and 96% of them renew through us every year. Maybe it's our choice of 19 different health plans, our 10 years of customizing solutions, or our one local team of dedicated experts helping employers find quality health insurance. See how our numbers stack up for you. Learn more at healthsourceri.com/employers.